And welcome back to Sports on Tap's Ohio High School football coverage. We're part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. I'm Rob Trump. We have Ed Dick, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy here from the RRT Production Studio. And we already covered the Greater Cleveland Conference and the Southwestern Conference. Now it's time to get into a little Suburban League action. Let's first start with Ed Dick, who's going to get into the National Division.
Absolutely. We had 8 games on the docket, and we're going to start first with Brecksville Broadview Heights. The Bees took care of business against Garfield Heights, shutting out the Bulldogs 34-0 at home. The Bees jumped out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter and did not look back. Quarterback Luke Sternad threw 2 touchdown passes, and running back Alec Buckley ran for another 2. With the win, the 2-0 Bees will host 1-1 Brunswick in Week 3. While the Garfield Heights Bulldogs will travel to 0-2 Mayfield. We had a inter-conference battle between the Greater Cleveland Conference and the Suburban League National Division, as Josh already covered before. Solon rolled to a 43-7 victory over the Twinsburg Tigers. Thomas Wilkes had touchdown runs of 7, 18, and 26 yards, as Josh so astutely pointed out. The Tigers did get on the board in the fourth quarter as Christian Edgerson caught a 5-yard touchdown pass from Adam Vandermatter. Twinsburg falls to 0-2, and they will host Suburban League American Division foe 1-1 Aurora, while Solon will host 2-0 Stowe Monroe Falls. Spoiler alert, Stowe Monroe Falls won last week. The Bulldogs continued their regular season success with a 56-14 victory over cross-division rival Kent Roosevelt. Stowe got 4 passing touchdowns from quarterback Kyle Van Treese. Also, rushing touchdowns by Joe Gobble, Brian DeVitas, and Tim Manley. With the win, Stowe is 2-0. As we said, they are taking on 2-0 Solon. The Rough Riders are 0-2, and they will take on 0-2 Ravenna. Cuyahoga Falls got their first win in what was it, 15 games?
Yeah, something
like that.
Yeah.
They got their first. They were 1-0 going into this game. Unfortunately, they were unable to capitalize on their season opening victory, falling to Akron Garfield 13-8. The Black Tigers did lead 8-7 after a safety and a 65-yard touchdown run by quarterback Nate Vasilotti. Akron Garfield, however, took the ensuing kickoff back for a touchdown, accounting for the final score of 13-8. Cuyahoga Falls drops to 1-1. They will host 2-0 Barberton. The Rams improved to 1-1 and will travel to 1-1 Talmadge. North Royalton hosted Parma Senior High School at Serpentini Chevrolet Stadium right off of Ridge Road. The Bears jumped out to a 21-6 lead to start the game early, but Parma used a 90-yard interception return for a touchdown by Andrew Shields to get back into the game and ultimately overtake the Bears. For North Royalton, Jake Francic rushed 4 times for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Zach Antonio rushed 21 times for 83 yards. North Royalton drops to 1-1. They will travel to 1-1 Medina Highland, while 1-1 Parma will host 0-2 John Marshall at Byers Field on Thursday night. Nordonia found themselves in another shootout, this time against the very potent Bedford Bearcats. Nordonia once again scored 38 points. However, they surrendered 46 points and 630 yards to the Bearcats. For Nordonia, Anthony Perrine rushed for 2 touchdowns. Ty Evan caught 2 touchdown passes, one of 13 yards and one of 26 yards from quarterback Robbie Levick. Bedford quarterback Arshawn Boone passed for 430 yards and 4 touchdowns. One of those, a 98-yard touchdown pass to Trenton Cloud. Nordonia falls to 1-1. They will travel to 1-1 Dover. 2-0 Bedford will host 2-0 Shaker Heights. A game that we will talk about a little bit later here. I will just quickly say, Hudson did pick up the victory over Strongsville. Sam Wright had 5 receptions for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns for Hudson. And without really getting too much more into that game, because I know that was a major that we're going to go more in depth about that here later. So Hudson gets the win over Strongsville there. The game of the week that I had for the Suburban League National Division, it was Wadsworth traveling to Worcester. The Grizzlies taking on the Generals. Grizzlies head coach Justin Todd knew his team was in for a battle, and unfortunately, they just weren't up to the task. Worcester took the opening kickoff and used more than half of the first quarter on a 12-play, 61-yard drive that ended with quarterback Peyton Bennington connecting with Colt Morgan for a 10-yard touchdown. Wadsworth did answer back with a solid drive of their own. They were unable to convert on a 4th and 1 from the Worcester 45. Wadsworth quarterback Joey Bachman, who lit up Ashland in Week 1, threw an interception that led to a 3-yard touchdown by Trey Mathis afterwards. On the ensuing kickoff, Wadsworth let the ball drop inside the 5-yard line, thinking that a touchback was imminent. However, the ball stopped at the 1-yard line, forcing the Grizzlies to field the ball, where they were ultimately tackled at the 3. Ooh. After a 3-and-out, Trey Mathis ran it in from the 2-yard line, giving Worcester a 21-0 lead at the half. The second half, not much better for Wadsworth, as Mathis and Morgan both caught touchdown passes from Bennington to account for the final score of 35-0. Not a whole lot offensively going on for Wadsworth here, so I got some Worcester. We'll give them a little bit of credit here. Worcester quarterback Peyton Bennington threw 3 touchdown passes, 2 of which to Colt Morgan. Running back Trey Mathis finished with 92 yards on 20 carries. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown. Hell, if he was in my conference, he might be up for the Player of the Week. With the loss, Wadsworth drops to 1-1. They will host 2-0 Medina. Worcester will travel to 1-1 Mount Vernon. So my game of the week going into Week 3 here in the Suburban League National Division, I think it's a pretty obvious one. A couple good contenders here, but I can't pass this one up. It's going to be Stowe Munro Falls traveling to Solon. There's going to be 2 powerhouses, 2 juggernauts. There's a couple other solid games here. Brushwood, Broadview Heights, and Brunswick is a good game. Hudson and Canton McKinley would be fantastic. Actually, North Royalton and Highland intrigues me as well. But it's a high-profile game. I get that, but I got to see what's going on in this game. So
I totally agree.
That's a good pick.
I'll be following that a little bit more often here. And then my MVP for this week, you guys are going to talk about him later, but I'm going to talk about him now. Sam Wright, 5 receptions, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns, is the Conference Player of the Week, or the Player MVP for the Suburban League National Division. So that's my spiel.
That's a great pick.
Going to kick it over to Sean, my Suburban League compadre, my cohort, my colleague, taking on the American Division.
Our battle buddy in the Suburban Division.
Yes.
All right, Ed, thank you very much. Going to start off with Coventry traveling to Barberton. And Barberton welcomed them with open arms, dropping 32 unanswered points to win at 32-0, led by junior quarterback Zane Reese, who threw for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nice. Junior Kai Thompson rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown. Junior Lake Metzger returned an interception for 35 yards for a touchdown. And it was all Magics all night. Barberton dropped a bomb on Coventry. Barberton improves to 2-0 in the season and will travel to Cuyahoga Falls to continue their winning ways. Moving on, we have Firestone going into Copley, and for as good of a red carpet as Barberton gave Coventry, Copley decided to one-up them. Led by quarterback Austin Brenner and running back Weston Bridges, 2 perennial MVP list candidates, they improved to 2-0 with a dominating shutout win over Firestone. Bridges rushed for 97 yards and 3 touchdowns, so he was very efficient on Friday night. Austin Brenner went for 134 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, and just to cap it off, 1 rushing touchdown. Brenner threw touchdown passes to Alex Zelch and Joe Kenyon. Copley will host Uniontown Lake in a Week 3 matchup that I have deemed my spotlight game of the week.
There we go.
Moving on, Highland welcomed Canada Prep Academy into Highland Stadium, and they were in a shootout early and often. Highland was looking to rebound from a tough loss in Week 1, and they welcomed a talented Canada Prep Academy, who is boasting 6 Division I signees on that team. Very athletic team that they were playing. But they found themselves in a tight battle all night. They were led by the Hornets were led by junior cornerback Matthew Ernst, who completed 16 of 21 passes for 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. His most important drive came late in the fourth quarter, where he led a 58-yard drive capped off by a game-winning 35-yard field goal by senior quarterback Kurt Everett. Ernst ended up completing passes to Mitchell Hutchins, who had 6 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. And running back Chris Burnside had 22 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown. Now, the interesting thing about this game was you would think with the stat line that Matthew Ernst had, he would be the guy that wanted to be an interview. But the Medina Gazette tried to catch up with Ernst at an interview after the game. He went and found the kicker. Ed, I know you're going to love this.
There we go.
He went and found the kicker and said, you know what? I had a good game, but this guy right here was the winner. He was the hero of the game and gave all the credit to the kicker, Kurt Everett. And Kurt Everett was thankful and very good, but I guess that was a class move by Mr. Ernst.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk for
Right
that.
there.
Chocolate milk. Moving on, as Ed mentioned, Stowe basically destroyed Kent Roosevelt. It was not really a game from the outset. As he mentioned, the Rough Riders had a tough time controlling Kyle Van Treese, who they surrendered 4 touchdowns to. Their only saving grace was that Kelvin Blackman notched a touchdown pass, but unfortunately it was too little too late. Stowe rolled in that game. Moving on, we have Revere heading into Parma and facing Valley Forge, powered by 5 touchdown runs by Clayton Langdon. This guy has scored in the last 2 weeks, guys, 10 touchdowns. The entire offensive production for Revere has gone through Clayton Langdon. As he goes, this offense goes. I'm very, very interested to see how Revere is going to adjust when they get into conference play when they face tougher defenses. As good as Valley Forge was, they were able to post 33 points, but the game was never really in doubt because, again, they were unable to stop Clayton Langdon. Revere will travel back to Parma to face Normandy in Week 3. So Clayton Langdon is very familiar with the terrain he'll be running on Friday night. And again, I want to also mention Kent Roosevelt will look to right the ship against Ravenna at home. Hopefully they can, right the ship with them and move forward there. Again, Talmadge welcomed Ellet into their stadium, and unfortunately the Orangemen were able to outscore the Blue Devils 21-14 in the fourth quarter to pull away for a very, 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 very precious non-league win. The Orangemen led 9-7 in the fourth quarter before Marquise Bridges ran for a touchdown to give the Orangemen a 16-7 lead. Talmadge's Sam Seeker threw a touchdown pass to Ty Shannon to make the score 16-14 in the middle of the fourth quarter. But a 50-yard touchdown pass from Grant Haverstick and an interception return for a touchdown by the Orangemen defense gave a decisive win to the Ellet Orangemen. For Ellet, Marquise Bridges finished with 167 yards and 2 touchdowns to lead the Orangemen to a victory. Talmadge will look again to hopefully right the ship as most teams would they will host Garfield in Week 3 in a very, very, very important home matchup. My Week 2 spotlight game found Aurora traveling to Euclid, and this was an important game for Aurora because they had just got shellacked by Solon in Week 1. They were led by Chris Vanzo, a 5'10", 190-pound senior who scored midway through the first quarter on an 11-yard touchdown run. Gavin Blunt for the Green Men caught a 33-yard second-quarter touchdown pass from Mac Austin, and the Green Men took a 14-0 halftime lead on the Panthers. The Green Men defense was paced by Bubba Arslanian's 15 tackles, and to top it all off, Arslanian decided to have a 59-yard touchdown run early in the third quarter. Vanzo added his final 2 touchdown runs late in the fourth quarter, ensuring a much-needed victory for Aurora. DeQuan Pruitt scored both of Euclid's touchdowns, a 4-yard run early in the third quarter that cut Aurora's lead to 14-7, and later in the fourth quarter that ended up with giving the Euclid Panthers a 13 victory after a missed extra point. Mac Austin, a senior quarterback, finished 6 of 11 passing with 187 yards and 3 touchdowns in only his second start. Chris Vanzo rushed for 107 yards and 3 touchdowns on the night. Aurora travels to Twinsburg in Week 3 for a very, very important road matchup. Guys, as I look at those scores and as I see what happened, I got to give my Week 2 MVP to Matthew Ernst, not only for his performance, but his I guess, class in giving that kicker because again, Ed can attest to this. Kickers always are the first ones to get blamed for a missed field goal, but the first ones forgotten for a made field goal. And it was very, very classy of him to go and find that kicker and say, you know what, you're a senior. You're the one that kicked it through the uprights. You got us this win against, again, a very, very stout Canada prep team. I got to give it to him. Again, his stat line is very impressive. Let's go back and review that. He had 16 of 21, 247, 3 touchdowns. But again, the most important thing was he was able to lead his team down on a 58-yard touchdown to win the game. That's galvanizing. That allows the Highland Hornets to kind of, again, I use this phrase a lot, right the ship going into, after a pretty disappointing loss to Brunswick, a lot of penalties, a lot of, shooting themselves in the foot. They had that game. They just unfortunately they let it slip away. So that was a very, very good performance by Matthew Ernst. My Suburban League American Division Week 3 Spotlight game is going to be Uniontown Lake traveling to Copley. I'm very interested to see what Copley does against a pretty good defense here. And I'm very much interested to see if Weston Bridges can continue his weekly domination and his weekly appearance on my MVP list. This guy just scores touchdowns. And, adding in Austin Brenner as quarterback, very impressive. And unfortunately, like I said, I went ahead and marked this as my week 3 spotlight game. So I don't know what you guys think, but I'm pretty impressed with the performances in the American division this week, especially from those that, again, have been on my list week after week and going from last year to this year.
Well, how about Revere? Let's give credit.
Yeah.
They bounced out to 2-0 right now after a very tough year last year. Now, can they continue it once they get into conference play? Aurora, you look at them; they're 1-1.
That was a huge win for Aurora.
Yeah, to especially get that win and
on the road,
not go 0-2 or start the season 0-2, which would be tough. But Aurora's a really good team. Highland's 1-1. So they got a nice win. And Copley, I think everybody expects them to be really impressive this year. I think you said it in our preview that Copley was a team to look out for.
Yep.
Not look up for. I don't know why I keep saying up today, but look out for, as they're 2-0. And Barberton's 2-0. So you have 3 2-0 teams, 3 1-1 teams, and then Kent Roosevelt at 0-2.
And if I could, I just want to recap the games going into week 3.
Sure,
we
you could.
Aurora traveling to Twinsburg. We have Barberton traveling to Cuyahoga Falls. We have Uniontown Lake coming into Copley. Highland will be hosting North Royalton. Roosevelt will be hosting Ravenna. Revere plays at Normandy, and Talmadge will play at Garfield. Will host Garfield in week 3.
Yeah, a lot of good games there. And, looking at Ed's national division, you have 3 2-0 teams with Brecksville, Hudson, and Stowe. I think that Brecksville game is going to be a good one with Brunswick. I think that's always a pretty big game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're going back to your Pioneer Conference roots there. I mean, we played Brecksville quite a lot when we were younger, and that is always a good game. That's never really a blowout. It's always a competitive game. There you have two very similar programs there, and generally when they play each other, you throw the records out because they always have a good game. Hudson and McKinley is a very intriguing game to me as well.
Yeah.
Hudson's defense, as you guys got to see up close in person. I've seen them multiple times, and they are not fun to play.
No.
And if you have no stake in the game like you did on Friday, I imagine it's a little bit. It's very fun to watch them fly around the field. Stowe, Monroe Falls, they're going to get a test this week. I'm really looking forward to that game against Solon because they are. Stowe hasn't lost a regular season game since 2014.
Yeah.
And there's no right now in my mind there's no bigger test than Solon right now for them. So that's gonna be a tremendous game. Wadsworth and Medina, we talked about that a little bit earlier today. You have Medina County rivals. Medina is just on a roll right now offensively, and I'm interested in seeing how new head coach Justin Todd gets his Grizzlies prepared, coming off a 35-0 shellacking at the end at the hands of Worcester.
Yeah.
And then Nordonia and Dover. Dover's a team that likes to throw it around. I mean, they spread it out and just wing it around the field. Nordonia, they've been very consistent. They've scored 38 points in each of their first 2 games, and the 200 monster of Anthony Perrine and Ty Evans offensively for them. I wouldn't really say that Bedford stopped them. They just happen to score more points than Nordonia. I don't think anyone's been able to stop them yet, so we'll see what Dover can do to stop them there. So a lot of exciting stuff going on in Week 3 in the Suburban League, both American and national divisions, and looking forward to hearing about the game of the week here coming up soon. Since I was not able to watch it, I was watching the penalty fest and watching the Blue Devils not play as well as they could have, and kind of let one slip away there. Credit to Fitch; they're always a good team, and they're going to win some games this year like they always do. Brunswick's got to move on and move on to one of the games that it's in my conference. So this will be good.
Yeah, and with Fitch, I mean, they played Hudson and Brunswick in back-to-back games, and they held Hudson to 17 points in what looked like was just a tough-fought game. But we'll go over the Hudson Strongsville game. It was our game of the week.
Yep.
In week 2, we'll talk about that in the next segment, and also talk a little bit about our game of the week coming up this Friday, which is also going to be a big game. So it's going to be a lot of fun going over the games,
and we'll also give you a little hint into some maybe out of conference games or out of conference games that we'd like to keep an eye on for our fans around the Northeast Ohio or Ohio
or
area.
Dayton area.
Yeah, Dayton area. That's me. Just because, again,
it's also to be fair, it's also me. As my brother-in-law is the head coach down there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is we'll step away. We'll take a short break and
come back.
And when we come back, we'll get into our game of the week and also our game last week. Coming up, we're Sports on Tap for the ADO Sports Insiders Network. It's our Ohio High School football coverage.